In this video, I am going to discuss whether or not you should manage your own rental properties. Over the years, I've met many people who are interested in buying and owning rental properties. Now, having owned rental properties for 20 years and managed them myself, I've seen many people come and go in the rental property business. Some people dip their toes in it, do it for a little while, and decide that they don't want to do it anymore, and then they hire a property manager. Some people get into it, they do it fairly well, and expand upon their rental properties and continue to do it. And then there are some people who are in the business who take a hybrid approach. In other words, they will start managing their own properties, and as they expand, they will hire different people to handle different aspects of managing property. I would say that people who watch my videos and visit my real estate channel are people that are not in the business. Now, you may or may not know that I was introduced to rental real estate at a very young age. When I was 15 years old, I began typing up leases for my parents for their rental property. I got elected to the job simply because I was good at a typewriter. This was before computers were around. I actually typed up some of these leases with an old-fashioned typewriter. And I was the best typist in the house. And because I'm a first-generation Chinese American, my written English was a little bit better than my parents' English. And so as a teenager, I would skim these leases and be exposed to the different clauses that had to be filled out with a typewriter. And to be honest with you, I wasn't all that thrilled to be in the rental house business. I would say I was dragged into it and exposed to it by virtue of my family. Fast forward 15 years, I decided I wanted to get into the real estate business, but I wanted to build a portfolio of my own. And so I took these early experiences and applied them to my new venture. Another thing I wanted to point out is that I was a tenant for many years. I could have bought a home, but I never did because I never felt all that stable, where I felt like I would set roots at any particular location and buy and own a home. So I rented for many, many years. As a result of that experience, I became very familiar with the way different companies manage properties and the leases they used. I took very seriously all the leases I signed over the years, and I'm happy to report I've always left on very good terms. Once I got into the real estate business, I consider it to be my profession. I consider it to be my job, so it really wasn't an option for me to go ahead and outsource it, if you will. As I said earlier, most of you watching this video are probably not in the real estate business, and I'm going to make this real simple. For those of you who have full-time jobs and careers outside of the real estate business, I don't generally recommend that you manage your own property. That is not to say that you couldn't learn it. That doesn't mean that it's so highly skilled that you could never master the job. But having watched many people who have full-time jobs and careers outside of the real estate business dip their toes, I found that a lot of information and insights that I take for granted were not necessarily the insights and backgrounds of newcomers. So what I considered to be very basic knowledge, they were never exposed to. And a great deal of property management is not managing properties. It is dealing with people. Everyone has heard a story of bad tenants. They either don't pay, or they don't take care of the property well, or you have to evict them. I'm here to tell you all of these bad stories can and will happen if you are in the business long enough. It's all a matter of degree. As a quick overview, if you decide to buy a rental house and tackle the first house just to get the experience, these are some of the things you're going to have to face from day one. You're going to have to prepare the house. You're going to have to advertise and market for tenants. You're going to have to pre-screen and qualify those tenants. You're going to have to show property to prospects. You're going to have to sign the lease and collect the money. You're going to have to do the paperwork. And you're going to have to follow up after they move on to make sure they settled in well. Now, if you do a good job or you simply get lucky, You have a tenant that can potentially stay with you a long time. When I say a long time, I'm talking about 2 years or more. That is what I consider to be a long time. To me, 1 year goes by very, very quickly. A 1 year lease is not a short term rental, but it's certainly not a long term rental either, as far as I'm concerned. So, what's a great tenant? Number one, they have to be able to pay their rent timely each and every month, right? I think that goes without saying. Number two, they have to be able to take care of the property. That means make sure that they maintain the yard, keep the premises clean, and handle any minor repairs and issues. I don't want my tenants calling me to change their light bulbs, for example. I also don't want my tenants to call me to come in and tighten a loose screw. But the true test of whether or not you should be in property management or renting your own properties is when things go wrong. What are you going to say and what are you going to do if a tenant is unable or unwilling to pay their rent on time? Are you going to discuss the situation with them and try to figure out a way out? Or are they going to get nasty and ignore your phone calls and emails? Or will they try to slip out in the middle of the night? These things can and will happen if you've been in the business long enough. You can't change what tenants will do, but you absolutely have control over what you do and how you will respond. I have spoken to a number of people. They don't deal with conflict well. They don't like disagreements. They don't like getting into arguments or even a mild disagreements with other people, and especially their tenants. A number of people I've spoken to have outright admitted to me that they find it very difficult to evict tenants, even if they intellectually know it is required and necessary. They don't want to do certain tasks, especially those that are very unpleasant. So we've covered some of the unpleasant scenarios that can come up with the tenants. What about if something happens with the property? Let's say an air conditioner compressor breaks down, or there is a roof leak, or someone breaks into the house. These are legitimate and property-related issues that landlords and property managers often have to deal with. So people who are in the fix-up business, they have a leg up. I've known people who are very handy and they take care of a lot of their own smaller maintenance issues that crop up with their properties. But the vast majority of people, even experienced landlords, cannot fix and repair everything that can come up in a property. They actually have to hire it out. So if you're a new property owner, do you have any contacts? Do you know a handyman? Do you know a plumber? Do you know an electrician? Do you know a carpenter? Or do you have to run around and start looking for referrals? And even if you get a good referral, do you know what a good price is? Do you know what a fair price is? Do you know what materials are required? Do you know how long it's going to take? Again, I ask these questions not to say that they're insurmountable challenges, but I am very mindful of a person who works full-time and has a career outside of the real estate industry to stop their day to wrap their minds around some of these questions that need to be answered. And regarding the property, are you local to the property? Now, in the metro Atlanta area, I'm going to tell you, local is relative. In my view, if you have to drive more than 20 minutes in any direction, it starts getting to be very far. It isn't just like, oh, I'm going to stop by the property and check things out. When I talk about checking things out, driving for 20 minutes to perhaps get out of your car and walk around for 5 or 10 minutes to deal with a situation, and then you get back into your car and drive 20 minutes back home. As you can see in the scenario that I've painted, even a quick visit will burn up an hour of your time. Again, if you're working full-time in a career not related to real estate, an hour can seem like a long time. And it can seem very inconvenient when you're driving out of the way to take care of a problem. I've given you a number of scenarios and questions to think about. Where am I going with all of this? Where I'm going with this is helping you decide whether or not you should be managing your own property. Is it worth your while? Is it worth your time and energy? For people who want some experience, I think it's a great way to do it. But just understand, there is no free ride. If you want the experience and you want the knowledge and you want the independence of not relying on others, you will have to go through the inconvenience and perhaps the pain of enduring some of the things that will come up. If you are like most people who see real estate as purely an investment and not really a business they want to get in, I think the decision is very clear. You will want to look for a great property manager or property management company. The topic of property management is very expansive. What I'm discussing here is a very small portion. It is the tip of the pen in the discussion of property management. As I said earlier, I've seen a lot of people who dip their toes in it and ultimately they decided to get out after trying it out. And even people who've managed their own properties for many years, I've known them to change their minds and decided to hire it out because they just didn't want to deal with it anymore, or they felt like their time was better spent elsewhere. And although I do manage my own properties and I know how to do it, I honestly don't enjoy it very much. It is entirely possible I may entirely outsource one day. But for now, I don't mind doing it because what I'm managing is stable and relatively low drama. And as long as it stays low drama, I'm happy to continue to do it. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. While you're at it, take a look at these videos that I've recommended for you, and I'll see you in my next video.